This is by
right?
far has been the most mind-blowing conversation I had in a while. Maybe since I last heard you speak. I work
Mm-hmm.
really, really fast. Just explaining somebody else the summary of everything I discovered and just doing the communication, I would
Mm-hmm.
just I can just do it myself. And that's kind of
No
a
problem. I get it.
that's like a catch 22 that
It is.
prevents me
That's
from
the curse of
growing.
all
Yeah,
entrepreneurs. The curse of
exactly.
all entrepreneurs is you can do it faster than everybody else. And the rationale is in the time it takes you to explain it to somebody else and revise whatever, you would have already finished it right the first time.
So
But
just
that's a trap.
like this week, I had a talk with a friend, and we were talking about
Mm-hmm.
hiring people, and he told me he kind of did the math for me. He said like if like hiring somebody is going to take 20% to manage him, 20% of my time to manage him, he's got to be making it's like. I have to hire two people to make three times the money to make it economically worthwhile. Otherwise, hiring just one person, I'm not going to make enough money to justify, hiring that person.
Right.
So, yeah.
So you think so far. We're gonna bust through all these beliefs and these so-called myths. All
All
right. So we'll
right.
get to that. Now, there's a couple other things here I'm gonna just power through here because I wrote some notes here. Right. So from you to go to 2 to 300, you're already working really efficiently. The problem right now is to talk about how you can scale and multiply your time. This is
Right.
a classic, and I used to suffer from this too. And my business coach has helped me through this, and I've helped others through this as well. The first thing is I think you need to formalize your process a little bit. The super efficient brain of yours makes certain decisions along the way
Yeah.
that you need to be able to codify into like 5 major steps.
All right.
No more than 5, okay? Now, I remember when I was working with a faculty advisor at Art Center, he said, when you're critiquing the work of these designers, and we're doing storyboarding, right? He had asked me, he says, the whole purpose of what you're doing is to try to get them to think the way you think, to look at the work the way you see it. Because they put up the work and they're confused. And then they get a critique, and to them, it's a very mysterious thing like, why did you say what you said? So he says, what we want to do is to have a shared conceptual framework of what it is that you're looking for. So he said, just tell me right now, what are the 5 things that your brain is looking for as you're looking at the work? And I had never even thought of it like that before. So on a piece of paper, we sat there. In the next 3 minutes, I said, well, the first thing I'm looking for in a frame, a storyboard frame, is it clear or is it confusing? So he's like, great, let's write that down. And then if it's clear and it's boring, that's no good. So it needs to be clear and interesting. Okay, so now it's clear, it's interesting, but when we look at the sequence, it doesn't make sense. So that's considered a non sequitur. So we then have to say, do the sequence add up in a meaningful way? And we would go through each and every one of these things. And so now I would print it out at the beginning of each crit. I would tape it up to the wall. And I would say, when we're looking at this work, I'm no longer going to critique it. You are. So the person who made the work looks at it, it's like, is it clear? Right there, frame 3 is not clear. So I would tell them, and we would have like red dots. And we would say, all the students, you can feel free to put a red dot on any frame that's not clear to you.
Yeah.
Then you have a blue dot, put a blue dot on any frame that's clear, but it's clearly boring. And so now the pages start lighting up. And you can see now I've taken something that's very abstract and mysterious to lots of people, and I've made it so that they can understand. This happens to be one of my strengths, is to take these things and just organize. I'm just a good organizer, right?
Yeah.
So now they're able to do this. So I think what you have to do is like, how the heck can I make so much work in such little time? What are the
Yeah.
decisions that I'm making when I look at this thing?
That's
And just
true.
break it down,
By the way,
right?
some of those things I actually try to break down on my YouTube where I show my process. So I'm
Uh-huh.
already kind of trying to
Right.
formalize the process in my mind and communicate it to other people. But yeah, I guess that's the first step. Before you even hire somebody, I got to do this, right?
Before you hire,
Yeah.
yes, you kind of need to know your process a little bit, because here's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
You have to somehow download your knowledge into somebody, whether they're working on-site or off-site, so that you don't have to do all the heavy lifting.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you this, if you get to your goal, and you're going to get there, to get to $500 an hour so you can work half the time, almost anybody you can hire is going to make you money. Because most freelancers are not going to even approach anywhere near that rate,
Yeah.
okay? So even if you were charging hourly, let's say whatever clients that agree, all the U.S. or European clients that agree to pay you whatever rate you want to charge, if you hire somebody, even at the highest level, $100 an hour, it's a lot of money for somebody.
Yeah.
That's $800 a day. Even if they took 1.5 times, even 2 times as long as you did, you're still out way ahead. And if you can just come right in at the end and give them a little bit of art direction, an hour's worth of your time to do the high-level thinking stuff, it's like, let's change this here. You remember these 4 points that we talked about? If you can do that, this is going to be really tight. And then they would do it. Here's the thing. It's an investment of time up front, and you get a lot of reward on the back end.
Yeah.
This is like you tilling the soil, preparing it, fertilizer, leveling it out, and then planting that seed. It's a lot of work up front, but once the seed is matured into a tree that bears fruit, it's going to continue to bear fruit for you. Now, you're going to go through quite a few people to find a superstar. That superstar will be a right-hand woman or man. And that person will train the next people, and then that's how you build your team up. You have to remember, they don't need to work as fast as you, nor as efficient. And here's another kicker for you to think about. The level in which you're able to produce is very high, and you want everybody to be able to hit that mark. But in reality, I know you don't believe this to be true today, your clients cannot actually discern the difference between high and super high.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe that.
Right? So you might be killing yourself or your team to get them to super high, but the general public cannot even tell the difference between high and super high. So as long as they meet the minimum threshold of quality, they're good, and you need to learn to let go. Because you need to focus on the bigger things, onboarding new clients, networking, speaking to gain influence, writing killer content for your YouTube channel, and teaching the world the things that you know. And that's a much higher goal in life than whether or not that's the exact shade of red or if that pixel is exactly where it needs to be.